Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are already in session. Session started at 6 o'clock for our governance session. So I'm going to jump right to the board minutes from the February meeting. Does anybody have any comments or discussion for the board minutes? And I do believe Elizabeth already noted something with that. So
there are some typos in it. Nothing substantive is wrong about them, but there somehow some edits that were made on the system aren't making it through. So we'll fix it on the back end.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments or questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and deem the board minutes approved by unanimous consent. For our first agenda item, we have a public comment. I'm going to invite Mr. King to, I don't know, where do you guys want him? Yes, yeah.
And you should have it so that he can be seen.
While we're kind of setting up for Mr. King, I'm going to read a brief statement regarding our public comments. Mr. King, please know that we welcome your thoughts and that the board will listen for understanding and take your perspective under advisement. You will have 3 minutes. We are confident that the comments will be respectful and topic specific. In order to live our mission and motto, especially together, and to maintain order, we reserve the right to interrupt and or stop disparaging comments about an individual either on the administration, board, and or faculty and staff. Thank you in advance for your comments and decorum. To our other guests, please know that, as in the case with each regularly scheduled board meeting, the public comment section of the meeting is not a forum for two-way communication. While each board member will listen intently, we will not be responding, as doing so will represent individual opinions and would not be consistent with our practice of acting with one unified voice through a well-established voting process. Okay, Mr. King, I'd like to go ahead and I will go ahead and start the timer when you are ready.
Good evening. My comments tonight are about parental involvement and communication. Specifically, involvement and communication between the school and the parents at every grade level. I think parental involvement is important because we can't always be there or don't always know what's happening on the important issues at school. I understand a parental involvement policy was adopted this school year. I appreciate that effort and look forward to seeing the ongoing implementation of those goals. As our kids mature, we give them more autonomy, responsibility, and accountability. All important, but that path is not always linear. At the end of the day, they are still high school students, young adults, and still our kids. Having timely feedback from the school on important issues helps parents to know that our kids are making good choices or getting proper guidance and the help they need. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. King. I appreciate your comments to the board. As stated before, the public comments, while we have listened intently to these sentiments, we will not be responding at this time. We will reflect on the comments and, as deemed appropriate, will take action through our committees or through the full board. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our support group update. I believe, Ms. Stein, you have the update from the PTO.
I do, thank you. The PTO has a lot of things going on this week, including getting ready for shenanigans, which you guys will be hearing a little bit more about. But they just sent me a brief message to let us know that they've just paid for the playground shade. If you've are not familiar, they help to install or fund a shade over the elementary upper playground, which was really nice when we start to enter these hot months. And they also paid for the Gaga pit, which is a big hit amongst our elementary school students. I have not hopped in the pit, but I've watched a lot of Gaga pit ball. They've also upgraded the elementary school teacher workrooms. And in the upcoming months, they are going to be purchasing new furniture for both the elementary school media center. They've already purchased some shelves and some things in there, and also some new furniture here in this media center, which is about $20,000 of donation total between the two. And then finally, they wanted the board to know that they are gearing up for Staff Appreciation Week, which will be at the end of April, first part of May. So it starts April 29th and concludes on May 3rd. So they're very busy and doing an awesome job on so many things to help the culture and help our teachers feel valued. So we just want to say thank you to them for that.
Great. Thank you to the PTO for all of their work and all the things that they funded. And I'll have to get over to the elementary school to see this. I don't know if I've ever heard of, what is it, Gaga Ball?
Yeah, if you've not seen Gaga Ball, it's actually kind of an up. You know how pickleball sort of took off? Gaga Pit's in that same sort of thing. I don't know that you'll see geriatric people playing Gaga Ball, but it is a game where you can put a lot of kids in, and they can all be very active, and they're very excited about it. So if you get over the elementary, it's right as you come through Carpool. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Okay, now we'll get an athletic boosters update. Mr. Schlegel?
Yes, good evening. How's everyone doing? Well, first I want to kick it off with our swim teams that did awesome at states. I believe we talked about it briefly at the last meeting before they competed. Our men's team placed second overall in the 3A, and our women's won the state championship. This is the first swim and dive championship we have at Lake Norman Charter. Both of our teams have been teetering on it for years and years and years, and it was over the moon to see them get over that hump and get that state championship. So congratulations to the swim and dive team, for both of the swim and dive teams, for what they've accomplished this year and what they're building for the future. Other than that, spring sports started a couple weeks ago. We're 2 weeks in the games now. Things are moving around. Things are going well. As long as the weather continues to cooperate, we should be all fine. And other than that, that's about it. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Congratulations to our swim and dive team. That's great news. So, and good luck to all the spring athletes. Hope your seasons are just as successful. So we'll move on to our state and school report. It looks like it's a joint effort tonight. So we'll start with Ms. Stein and then.
Yep. Actually, I'm gonna, in the interest of time, we have something pretty exciting. Every year we have our students that submit portfolios for the Scholastic Art Keys. So I'm actually gonna start by turning it over to our very talented art teacher and other artists that we have here, which is Miss Matoka. So let me pull up the presentation, Miss Matoka, and then we can start with, oh, that is not it. There it is. But you just, wherever you want to stand, we're gonna make it work, Miss Matoka.
Well, thank you. This, like Shannon said, every year, I'm fortunate to come here and actually present students and their work to you who have won Scholastic Awards. The Scholastic Art Competition is it's the most prestigious art competition in the country for high school students. And you can see this year we have more students who have and artworks that have won Scholastic Awards than in the history of Lake Norman Charter. So that's really exciting. past winners of this award include people like Amanda Gorman, Steven Spielberg, Andy Warhol. So that's kind of shows you the prestige behind this. And so students actually, we submit work to the regional competition. And so these are regional winners at this point. And then those who won gold keys at the regional competition will go on to the national competition, which will be late in May. So if you want to, can you go to the next slide?
Next. Now we'll try this. Sorry.
Okay. Raymond, not here, but just wanted to recognize Raymond Lynn. Won Scholastic Honorable Mention for architecture and industrial design, his design of a magnetic train. Olivia Wardlow actually is new to us this year. She came to us from Northwest School of the Arts. And Olivia won a silver key for Brass and Solitude and an honorable mention for Rewired Subconscious. She also just received a scholarship for study abroad this summer. That's exciting. And Charlie Weaver is here. Charlie won a gold key for a very large scale painting, which actually happens to feature several of our staff members. So I'm just going to let her tell you briefly a little bit about it.
So last year I won a silver key with a piece of art that I did, and I felt like I could do better than that. So I kind of created this piece wanting to get a gold key. So it's about like my own personal feelings on like femininity. So there's a lot of motifs in there that are kind of convoluted, but the portraits feature people that are representative of femininity to me. So Miss Lockhart is on there and Miss Elkins. That's really it. It's 3 feet by 4 feet.
It's beautiful.
It was hanging because I saw it in the school.
Mhm.
So where was it hanging in the school?
It was hanging on the wall outside the NPR at the high school.
Charlie,
for-
can you tell him now where? Yeah, that was just gonna say, can you tell him where it is now?
Now it's at the Mint Museum in their top floor exhibit.
Yeah.
Raina Lynn won an honorable mention for Flared Flames, which was a fashion that she designed for Recycle the Runway. And then she won a gold key for a comic design that she did on How Do I Save the Earth? And then a painting she won a silver key, All It Takes Is a Miracle, representative of her mother who actually almost died from the coronavirus, but thankfully survived. So, and then next is Avian Cannon, who's also here. Avian is our second portfolio gold key winner. First was last year was Maya Dabney. So this is our second in our history gold key portfolio winner. That's huge. So that means only seniors can submit a portfolio. And it has to be 6 pieces that are related in some manner. And the title of the portfolio on it is The Mirror and the Things That Look Into It. It also won the Biscuit Award, which means that the work will be featured in a future issue of The Biscuit, an online publication from Charlotte is Creative. So Avian is in communication with the person in charge of that so that they can be featured in the publication. And then the next slide. So Avian also won single awards from some of the pieces. So Simulacrum won, that's a large symbolic self-portrait that won a gold key. And then the portrait, third person point of view won a gold key. And the 13th rib won an honorable mention. The third person point of view also is an American Vision nominee, which means that at the regional level, the judges in the region choose 5 pieces to be judged at the national level to receive an American Vision medal. Another very high honor. So I'm going to let Avian tell you just a brief little bit about the portfolio.
Hello. My portfolio focused a lot on self-image and how I see myself in different ways. And so it was mainly just picking apart different parts of my perception and parts of my personality and trying to put them down on like paper or canvas in different ways. And I'm just really honored that I got all of these awards. I wasn't really expecting to get a lot of this, but it's been really fun working with different mediums and different subject matters and talking with Ms. Matoko about what worked best in the portfolio because it's something I'm putting together for my AP art class as well.
Avian, what are your plans next year?
I plan on going to art school, most likely be Savannah College of Art and Design, and probably going to be majoring in illustration.
And I know I've seen your work too in the school. So why don't you tell us where your pieces were featured?
Well, I had several of them hanging up in the hall, but those 2 pieces as well as printouts of the portfolio are also hanging up in the Mint Museum.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
And winning the portfolio, or I believe Avian's only the second artist that we've had a whole portfolio get that honor.
Yeah.
Isn't that correct?
It is correct. And so the whole portfolio will be judged. And then all of the individual gold keys, Charlie's piece, Avian's 2 pieces, and Raina's comic will be judged at the national level to receive medals. So, and then all of the gold and silver keys here, so all of those plus Olivia's silver key are actually down at the Mint Museum through April 14th or till April 14th.
Ms. Matoko, do they ever go, so if they're judged for a national, do they go on to somewhere else? Does the materials go on to another place other than?
They don't, that we actually last year, they requested certain pieces from the portfolio of Maya's.
Okay.
So I shipped 3 pieces to New York because and she received the medals in Carnegie Hall. And there were presenters there. Oprah was there and I'm trying to think who else was there. Can't off the top of my head, that was a big name that just came to mind.
That's,
But there were a number of stars that were there and spoke to the prestige behind this award.
yeah.
There are writing awards as well, but they receive medals at the national level. So then the work comes back to them. The next thing I know is if you've been in the high school, Avian created this incredible portrait that I had hanging up, and I was going to bring it tonight, and I don't know why I didn't, but I will give you a slide of it. It's a portrait that they did, and I'm going to put that in the congressional art competition, and so we'll see how that does. That would actually be displayed in DC for a year if Avian allows for that. So
Wow, that's
yeah.
great. I'm just curious, because the intricacy of some of the pieces that I saw in the hallway. So like Charlie, how long did it take you to do a piece that big? Wow. And Avian, something like, because your portrait was also quite big. How long would something like that take you to? Because a portfolio, I'm sure takes a long, long time. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, congratulations, you guys. It's fantastic
Yeah.
and really talented. Don't, wait, hold on, wait, don't let Miss Matoka go anywhere just yet. Because I wanted to give Miss Matoka and her art class a shout out. So I'm going to show a couple other pictures. So this is part of my report, but this is a couple of pictures from our Under the Sea dance, which is the daddy daughter dance at the elementary school. And as you can see, there was a lot of work. And what was really cool about this is not only the service that Kara and her art students provide, and also Miss Hale's class, I think crafts class, that they provide for helping them to really make a memorable event. But Miss Matoka explained it's not just about doing that service, it's also about how then the students are learning from that. So I think I promised her I would.
I mean,
Can you tell a little bit about what you asked the students to reflect on as far as the work that they did?
yeah, so my art 1 and 2 students created this primarily, and then some of Mrs. Hale's craft students created or helped create some things. And so we talked about the fact that, I mean, there are a lot of little things that were created to make this big coral reef. And so I said to them, you know, some of you are cutting paper, some of you are gluing bottle caps, some of you are, you know, and while it may seem like a menial type thing, you are problem solving, you're having to make decisions. There's a lot of teamwork that went into it. I handed a table a board and said, okay, fill this with things that look like they might go on a coral reef. And so I had, you know, a collection of stuff over the years, lots of recycles. So I think my room is now like the LNC Goodwill. Because I mean, somebody even dropped off a 3-wheeled lawnmower one time to my classroom, you know, and said, I don't know, maybe you can use this. So, you know, I had all of this stuff, and it's interesting using it all, you know, and there were times when I would ask the staff, if you have this, if you have that, you know, and you want to get rid of it or spring cleaning, just bring it to it. But like the fishtail on the left, those are plastic knives and rope that are on cardboard. The plastic knives, I think when I first started here back in 2009, 10, I don't even know. Somebody dropped off 80,000 plastic knives. So they were lined up in the front of my classroom. And so over the years, I think we're down to 20,000 now. So there are a lot of things on there that plastic knives with the fishtail is one of them. The columns are paper. I mean, it was really incredible watching the kids and their creativity. So today we talked about what skills did you use that would transfer if you were doing an interview or an application, and you had to talk about, you know, what are some of the things that businesses look for today. You know, can you collaborate? Can you adapt to adverse situations? Can you, you know, are you good at problem solving? Are you, um, I can't even think of some of the words I use. Because I work under, yeah, work under pressure. Yeah. Yeah. So I had a list of, and I gave them a picture of this, and I had a list of things that businesses today are looking for in characteristics in people. And so I had them circle 3 to 5 that they felt either this project strengthened for them or gave them a new something to add to their um, you know, bag of tricks. So, and I had them write a paragraph about, you know, really giving examples. Okay, so if adaptability, if you overcame, if you created something that fell apart, how'd you overcome that? How'd you adapt to that situation? And so that when they start writing essays for college applications or have to go into an interview, I shared this example with them. I said, when I first moved to Charlotte and I was looking for a teaching job, I didn't have one. So I applied for a marketing job. And I said, and I went in for an interview and the guy said, well, I didn't ask you to come down here because I thought you could do the job. I just wondered why you thought you could. And so I said, the funny thing about that is, it was me having to pull from, I said, clearly, if I didn't think I could do it, I wouldn't have applied. But, if somebody were to blindside you with a question like that, then you pull out that bag of tricks and you say, this is what I can do for you. What makes you different than everybody else that's applying for the same job or the same college or the same scholarship or so forth.
Well, thank you, Kara, for not only helping our PTO and making that experience great, but actually making it very applicable for our students. It was really cool. And I can't even imagine what it took to get all of that over to the elementary from that. I'm sure, yeah, that's what and again, congratulations to both our artists. I imagine there's just more and more bright futures and recognition for you both because your pieces are amazing. So congratulations. Okay, so rolling into a few things that before we get to Miss Leah and her things. First of all, as everybody is aware, unfortunately, we had our first bomb threats ever here at Lake Norman Charter last week, Monday and Tuesday. And I just want to take an opportunity to publicly thank the very many staff members and specifically Officer Bowe for his leadership during that time period. We had a lot of staff and administration step up in various ways. And I will say it went about as smooth as we possibly could have. They are still investigating. We do know some things that they're going to continue to do, but we tried to have minimal disruption, and I think because of everybody's efforts, it was about as good as it could have been in that circumstance. So just wanted to thank those who really stepped up in something that was at that time unprecedented. Now we have some precedents, unfortunately. I also wanted to give a shout out to Ty Stevens. You guys may have remembered Ty was our fishbowl designer from IDEA, and Ty got this really great scholarship. He is a finalist for the NHS scholarship, which is the national one. 16,000 students apply, and of 16,000 students, it gets whittled down to 25, and he's top 25. And so he will be traveling to Washington, D.C. over spring break. And we wish him the very best. As you can see by what he's doing through the Fishbowl Project and many other things in Ty's time here, he's really had an extremely positive impact on his peers in the school community. So we wish him all the best. I'm very excited to say that, give a shout out to Lon and his team. We're actually looking at piloting some different computers next year with our 9th grade. We're looking at potentially shifting over to Chromebooks. We actually looked at Chromebooks as part of the pilot originally, and back in the day, Chromebooks without internet were completely useless. So we thought about our families who travel and have sporting events, and we thought, well, that's just not something that would really be very useful for them, but they've come a long way. And what's nice about that is now that we've moved more towards using Google as a platform, which we're seeing in collegiate areas and probably many of you in your work areas, the Chromebook might be a really good fit. So we're going to pilot that with the 9th grade, and we'll see what, if we see what we're hoping to see. A lot of testings going on behind the scenes, but it would come at a monetary savings that then we could use towards other resources like AI resources. So appreciate the work that Lon and his team is doing. I do want to share with you, right there. So every year, the state of North Carolina, it requires every charter school to go through and demonstrate performance in several different areas. And this is, sorry for trying to get this folks where we need to. And you can see it's pretty expansive from our Title I to our English language learners to our growth numbers. It has, do we have the correct policies in place? Do we have the correct, and functioning board folks and things that are happening vision wise. They do certificates of occupancy. And you know, there's just a ton of different things that throughout the year we have to provide them documentation for. And I'm happy to report that we did very well on it as we have in the past, including, and they're starting to break out what they call these academic outcomes. Before it was really just about overall performance and growth, and now they're breaking some things out into some sub data. And it's something that Dr. Graham and I have been looking at, and we'll be continuing to work with our building principals. They're all exactly where they should be. They're all in the MET category, but they're things you want to track and look to see where you can set goals at a building level moving forward. But overall, the performance framework went very well. So always excited to have that done and get that confirmation that it's where it needs to be. They use these performance frameworks largely to determine when we come up for renewal, and we will come up for renewal in 2028. So that's when our next renewal cycle will be. And at this time, I am going to stop that share, and I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Lay, who's going to talk about a very important upcoming event we have going on, and also talk about some targets for the Knights Fund.
First, a plug for the art. I'm sorry they left, but I found myself at the MIT Museum on Saturday, and I didn't know that our students had art there. And I found myself on that 5th floor, and I saw Charlie's really big painting, and the picture of Miss Ashley Lockhart clicked a bell with me, and it caught my attention, and it's huge. And it's beautiful. And then I realized these were all exhibits, and the number of art that we had displayed from our LNC students compared with the other high schools is really outstanding. I was so excited. I text the whole admin team, and I'm like, you guys aren't going to believe how many pieces we have here compared to Huff and Mallard Creek and all of these larger schools. So that was really cool to see, and I encourage anyone to go check that out. So Night of Shenanigans is coming up in about 10 days. Many of you have purchased your tickets already. Looking at you, Elizabeth. So we no, but half of the board, I think, is coming. I know Ridgely and Amy have graciously volunteered or offered to help out, and I'm going to take them up on that. It's going to be a great time. Everything is going wonderful with it. We have just like all of human beings, we have a group parent population of procrastinators, and I'm sure I would be right there too. But a plea for anyone who is watching this: if you are planning on going to Night of Shenanigans, go on and get your tickets so that my partner and I can move on to all of the other event planning, because we're spending a lot of time doing a lot of promotion right now. But that is the only challenge that we're having. We're getting a ton of silent auction items and live auction items, and we've got our catering all lined up. We've got a bagpipe player coming. We've got the Tim Cook band coming to perform for us, and just a lot of cool stuff, a roulette table, a blackjack table. So it's going to be a really great night. And the deadline to purchase tickets is going to be through this weekend and probably about Monday morning or so. So we have a few more days for that. Anything else that I should mention, Shannon, about the Night of Shenanigans? And then if we want to move on to the second thing.
Yep, sure enough.
So taking off my event planner hat and putting back on my development fundraiser hat. So you guys are looking at a rendering of one of our 3 Knights Fund projects, Knights Fund, that will be kicking off just as soon as we kind of solidify and finish the 3 projects that we're going for, 1 per school. This is the elementary. All 3 of our projects have commonality to them. They are all places and spaces outside of the traditional classroom for our students. So this is a really cool, I'm super excited about all 3 of our renderings, because I think that this is going to completely impact and upgrade the experience of our K through 12 students. Once we have these things, I think these are 3 projects that our staff can get behind and are excited about. I think that these are 3 projects that our parents can understand, can relate to, and can really connect with, that their students are, it's going to make a mark on their students kind of from day one. So this is the elementary school. It is located by the Gaga Pit. And Shannon, I don't know if you can see that. Yep. Oop.
I have to go from picture to picture.
Okay.
For
But
that,
just
so.
to give you all perspective, if you're familiar with the elementary school campus,
Oh, you want me
Oh,
to go back?
That's,
Sorry.
that's okay, Shannon. That's fine.
You're
The Gaga Pit is on there, so that is done, but everything else on that sketch is to come. It is an adventure course.
The pit's right here.
And it will, thank you. And it will be, so everything else is just grass right now, but the plan is to create that adventure course. And this will be a place that the kids at the elementary will rotate through, just like the other couple of playgrounds that we have. It's got some really cool benefits. It's very close to the school. So our teachers really love that. And we need more, quite honestly, more recreational space for them at the playground time, at the recess time. So this byproduct of this will be that it has been designed with being able to also be converted at the times it's not being used at recess to like an outdoor classroom. So, and I know our teachers, many of them are really excited about having that opportunity. At the middle school, we are going to create a fun play space at the Hill. This is an area that if you see, Shannon, would you point out, yep, the steps that are existing right there. If you are looking at our press box with the field house to your right, the steps that Shannon just hovered over would be to your left of that press box. So this is known as the visitor side. We have a very steep slope. If you're familiar with our middle school, the proposal is that we build a recreation, a sliding and a climbing element right into that slope, and use our topography, which we are told by the landscape architect that is helping us with this. The slope is almost perfect to do this. So the blue slide on the right is about a 40-foot slide that comes down, and then you've got a climbing element parallel to the left of that. That is a little bit more challenging in nature. And then to the left of that, you'll see two slides that are kind of broken up with a landing in the middle, and then a climbing element to the left of that, which is on purpose, not quite so challenging. So this would be utilized by our 800 middle school students at recess each day, but it would also be utilized by our community at sporting events, on those Friday night footballs where we get a ton of people congregating around. This would be another recreational opportunity. And you think about the 5th and 6th grade, in a lot of schools, that's still elementary school, and we don't offer that traditional playground opportunity. So speaking of a mom to 3 kids, when they were that age, I know they would have loved having something like this available to them outside of recess every day. So that is the plan at the middle school. And then at the high school, we're going to switch to what we're calling Knights Plaza. And this is really elevating and upgrading our courtyard over there. So our existing blue picnic tables are at the top. Yep, right through there. That's what you guys know and love. All of the area toward the bottom of that, Shannon, if you can kind of, yep, and then to the right even where we have our productivity zone. Yep, all of that right now is turf, it's grass, it's not drained well, and it receives no sunlight. So it's chronically soggy and flooded, and the kids walk through it and get their shoes wet, and it's really unusable. So the proposal would be to drain that area, to pull up that grass, to put down some turf, and then a couple of other surfaces, but mostly the turf, to pull power out there so that we have, kids can actually be productive with their devices and charge up and that type of a thing. And then really split that Knights Plaza into 3 new places. So Shannon, if you hover at that upper triangle on the left, the chillax zone, I guess I'm calling it right now for a lack of a better term, this would be a space where the kids could really just hang out. They wouldn't have as good a Wi-Fi, which is kind of cool. It could be like a device free, a no connection kind of zone right there. And we would populate that with some furnishings that would be conducive to just sort of relaxing, to having conversation, to having a moment that is just by yourself. Again, I know I spoke about this before. We have hundreds of kids and growing every year who are using CP, and this leaves them with some gaps or breaks throughout the day. And really the goal is to keep those kids on our campus. So the entire Knights Plaza, that would be one of the main purposes of that. Then you can see that diagonal walkway right there that's kind of orange. That would be a 6-foot wide walkway that would run through that turf, and that would be perfectly placed to where that's where the kids walk anyway. So when they leave that English and social studies, that academic building, and come out that door out to the outside, they walk through there to get into the main building. So that would take them right there. And then the bottom triangle to the right of that walkway and kind of under it would be left open in green. We would put some spike ball out there, some different kind of recreational things. We view that as just kind of an opportunity, much like the table tennis that we put out there in cornhole. We've really seen that the kids love to be out there and kind of doing something like that. Maybe some pickleball could be out there if we've got space for that. But that triangle at the bottom would be used for that. And then to your right, we would have kind of a little bit more of a productivity. They don't have to be productive when they sit there, but we would make sure that we had tabletops and not so much structured like you see there in the orange brick color, which is to represent, by the way, paving surfaces underneath instead of the turf. But we would design it in a way that it would have Wi-Fi, it would have power, and it would have some tabletop surfaces so the kids could work out there if they wanted to, or even a class. I know Miss Wilson's science class was out in the courtyard earlier today. That is a frequent occurrence where teachers will bring the kids out. They could be in that productivity zone because the furnishings would be conducive to that, and it's close enough to the building to have Wi-Fi. Questions? That's it. So we're excited about getting that going as we get further into kind of the design with the landscape architect.
So, Sarah, are these projects, like, are we a go? Are we needing to meet certain targets before we can be a go? Like,
That's a good question, Amy.
Yeah.
So unlike our capital campaign where we were going for multiple years with multiple very large goals, I'm not saying these aren't expensive, but they're not capital assets. And so this will be handled differently in that we will raise the money and then spend the money. And so it will be, so no, we are not ready to do a go yet. When we roll this out, we will make the case to our parent population that here are the 3 targets. We hope that you partner with us so we can get this done. And we'll just have to wait and see, you know, time I know is going by quickly. We'll have to wait and see by the time that these projects get firmed up enough that we know what we are doing. The elementary is pretty much done as far as we're pretty set on that. The middle school is pretty much done. We're a little bit farther behind on the high school just due to the type of complexity of that project and making sure that we get that buy-in. And so it's going to be, and then, you know, waiting for the landscape architect and then finding somebody who can take the sketches I showed you and put that into more of a realistic 3-dimensional like drawing, which this landscape architect does not do. That's not, I'm finding, an easy thing to find, and it's not cheap to find, but that's necessary that we have that available both for print and in digital formats so that we can do a good job of making that case. I'd like to print a sign or probably a large banner at all 3 of the campuses where these improvements would happen, so that as parents are in carpool, they can see, oh, wow, this is the plan for this, with a QR code to, you know, go ahead and get partnered up to help us with that. The great thing about this is, if you guys remember, we closed out our Elevate campaign in August of 2023. And we were fairly successful in the 25-year campaign that we had launched around that time in getting folks even before into the Elevate 2.0 of getting folks into recurring giving. So the good thing is that ever since we closed out Elevate and folks have continued to give every month, we have a pretty good head start on these 3 projects. And so that's the great news. For once, we're not starting at 0 and making the case. We actually can go out and, you know, tell our families we've got this much of a head start to get this going. And PS, since we've been, I guess, about Giving Tuesday and into end of year giving and so forth, we've been working behind the scenes in kind of this quiet phase and talking to some of our more leadership level donors to kind of preview, you know, hey, this is coming, and strategically sort of leaking this so that, again, all with this in mind, that as they are giving, especially at some of these more generous, impactful levels, that again, once we go out to our general parents, I think that we'll hopefully get some traction pretty quickly since we've already got a pretty good jump start on this. Ideally, we would like to make the work happen in the summer so it would be ready by the fall, but you know, we'll have to see what happens with that.
Yes, thank you. All right, so is that okay, that concludes our state school report. We are going to move over to our annual investment report. I'm going to let Mr. Morris, if you could kind of tee up who our guest is from PNC and, kind of what we'll be covering tonight. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy. So we have Mr. Will King from PNC that's going to present for us tonight. And the Finance Committee works very closely with Mr. King. He kind of, keeps his eyes and ears on the market for us, helps us with our investment strategy, determine the appropriate appetite for risk, and some of the, directions that we're heading as a Finance Committee. So I want to turn the floor over to him and thank him for joining us from Raleigh over Zoom this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Gray Morris. And it is a pleasure to be joining you all during today's meeting. Just want to check and make sure everyone can hear me all right.
Yes, I think so. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. And as Mr. Gray Morris mentioned, just wanted to take a moment today to provide an update to an annual update to the investments. And so I will take a moment today to touch on what we're seeing in the markets, the portfolio, and then how it performed over the last year. And it's been about a year since the last time we've met, and there have been a few changes that we'll go into on our side, but really excited to be joining you all today during the meeting. And so when we look to the markets in 2023 in the rearview mirror, it was very positive from a return perspective. Both stocks and bonds performed very well during that year. And that was really off the heels of a continued strong economy in the United States, a strong labor market, and lowering inflation. And that really paved the path for strong returns in the portfolio that we saw this year. And when we look at the portfolio as of December 31st, I'm happy to say that the portfolio value grew to a value of $5,810,601. And so the market supported growth during that time period. And that portfolio really comprises of two components right now. The first component is going to be an investment we made towards the end of the last year, and we purchased a treasury bill with additional cash on hand for the school to really capture an attractive return in the security that was backed by the full faith and credit by the US government. So a very secure investment with an attractive return. And then that second component in the portfolio is going to be the long-term investments that we've made going back to 2021. And when we look at that second component in the portfolio, with some of that strength we saw in last year, one of the changes we've made is that during that year, we improved some of the quality of the underlying bonds in the portfolio. We also increased the size of the firms that we were investing with on the stock side. And we also brought stocks back in line with our targets. And really, those three actions were designed to help provide protection in case some risks materialized back in 2023. Thankfully, they did not, but we made some changes in the portfolio to provide some protection in case it went in that direction. And so on that note, I am going to share my screen to go over performance. And you'll have to forgive me. I'm not sure that I am allowed to share my screen.
Just give me one second, Michael. Let's see if I can fix that for you, okay? Just give me a
Thank
second.
you.
While we're waiting on that, can you talk just about what the original investment was and then where we are now? Again, can you just maybe give that again?
Yes. And so if you think of the portfolio right now, I think that makes sense to talk about what that split looks like currently. And so that current investment in the treasury bill is about 3.9 million. And that investment portfolio is at about 1.9 million. And so I would say we're looking at that original investment, it's a little down, as we'll see in performance from when we originally made that investment. But a point I'll make regarding that is when we think about the time horizon for that portfolio, it's perpetual. And so we're looking over time to grow that portfolio. And so when we think about that value, our expectation is as time continues, is that there's some opportunity to recover. And we really like the bond investments going forward and think that that provides some strong return potential going into the current market environment. And so overall, we're a touch down when we think about that original investment that was made in the long-term portfolio. But our expectation over time is that markets will help pick that value back up. And ultimately, we're excited about the return potentials for bonds, but going forward.
Will, you should be able to go ahead and share your screen now.
Perfect. So give me one. Perfect. And let me know when you're able to see it.
We're good. We can see it.
Perfect. And so the two numbers I'm going to highlight based off of that performance is going to be the year-to-date performance and the inception to date. And so if we look at the year-to-date performance net of fees, the portfolio was up 7.15%. And that was based off of the strong returns that we saw in both stock and bonds. And then when we look at that inception to date number, we're still down a touch, negative 3.73% since inception. Note that is an annualized number, but what I will say is, again, kind of when we think about this portfolio, really the benefit that it has is time, and so that potential to recover. And so we're pleased with the performance we've seen year to date. And when we think about the year going forward, ultimately, we are cautiously optimistic. I would say we believe that there is some potential positive returns in fixed income. But when we're managing the portfolio, we're still considering the potential risks that we could see and managing accordingly. And so overall, that is what we're seeing from the market's perspective, the portfolio, and its performance. And those are the items that I wanted to make sure that I touched on today, and want to leave a little bit of time here to answer any additional questions that you have as a board.
Okay. I don't believe there are any additional questions. So, Mr. King, thank you so much for joining us tonight and providing that update. And hopefully next year, maybe that year-to-date number will hit the positive. And but appreciate your comments around, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So looking forward to some updates in the future. So thank you.
It is my pleasure. And if there are any additional questions after, happy to answer those as well.
Okay, thank you. We're going to continue with old business. We'll do an IDENA report update. Ms. Chapman?
Hi, good evening, everyone. We have been really busy in February. I could barely fit it on the slide, so I had to make the font smaller. In the high school, we had our nighttime modules. And for 9th grade, it was microaggressions. For 10th grade, introduction to IDENA. And 11th and 12th grade had introduction to conscious and unconscious bias, recognizing bias and its consequences, overcoming bias through awareness and action. We were really pleased with the success of our modules this year. We really kind of in our committee tried to figure out ways that we could kind of broaden out, how we presented the modules, how we could get more student involvement. One of the things that we came up with was putting it on Schoology. That seemed to be very successful. In terms of participation, we had between 80 and 90%, which we felt like was really good. We're still going to keep on working on those numbers to get it higher. But as Sarah shared with you, we lose some students, that are in the upper grades to CPCC. So we understand that there will be a gap there. And again, just really working with the teachers and staff to become more aware of kind of the processes and the information. And so in terms of engagement and clear expectations, we really wanted to thank our teachers this year for really engaging with this material and with the students, and also setting clear expectations. In terms of Black History Month this month, in the middle school, they had a trivia on every Friday, which was successful. The kids really like to compete and try to win and show they know this knowledge, so nothing like some friendly trivia. In terms of also the high school, I wanted to jump back and say that one of the things we did as a committee was to focus on creating community and LNC club partnerships. So through Black History Month, we had the NAACP students group at the high school really partnering with the diversity group and the BSU. So really bringing different clubs and groups together to work on things during the month, and that's been successful. We also had some connection with UNCC in terms of getting some guest speakers. So we're always looking for guest speakers from the community. So if you're a parent in your profession or know people, keep abreast to our monthly calendar, because again, we're always looking for guest speakers across all 3 schools. In the elementary school, they were especially busy during Black History Month as well. So the elementary school did bookmarks on 13 famous Black Americans, past and present, and those were passed out. For the older grades, they did weekly studies on scientists and inventors, artists and musicians, and civil rights and athletes. And then during the 4th week, they got to choose which individual person really kind of spoke to them and they were most interested in, and they did a book report on it. And so I also wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Shannon Saunders. I know for 3 years running, she has dressed up in the morning. The kids come to get dropped off for school just throughout the day. She does an amazing job of helping to educate the students, and they absolutely love it. So a big shout out to her again. We also had our committee focus meeting on February 8th, and if we could jump to March. So upcoming in March, we have Women's History Month. As we spoke about Ty earlier, he is going to be with other students and teachers doing the fishbowl activity in the high school next Tuesday from 1 to 2 on March 12th. During our committee meeting, when he came to speak to us, he had asked if he could get some committee members to help come over and be facilitators. So we have 2 board members, Nicole Benford and I, that will be helping to facilitate that, as well as other committee members and leaders. Also, we have our committee focus, and we will be having our March meeting on the 21st.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, great. Thank you. Lots of good stuff coming out of the committee this past month, and looking forward to this month coming up. Now we're going to move on to our Thrive Committee update. I'm going to turn that over to Michael. If you want to go ahead and update us on that.
Sure thing. Yeah, thank you. Sorry I can't be there. Have some exciting news. We're hitting March Madness for us here at LN Charter. So with the high school, we have the speaker series kicking off the 18th to the 28th. And so originally we were looking to utilize our Naviance data that our students took all their career surveys in to pair our students with our top 3 career fields. Mr. Funches has done a phenomenal job and really dug in, and we're working to actually align all of our students with their choices. We may not be able to get everyone in their first choice, but he'll look to then get those students in their second choice if we can't. So phenomenal opportunity to really pilot this use of the Naviance data for our high school students this spring. In the middle school, they are going to do a career day. We had thought about postponing it, but with future plans, we're going to do a career day March 18th. And so there's going to be about 15 presenters, and students will sign up. So this will be an opt-in opportunity for the middle school. There'll be 50 spots per grade, and signups will be happening here in the short future. And then the highlight is the new Career Club series that's launching this year, and that's going to run for 6 weeks from March 14th through April 25th. And we have all the adult leaders for that currently, and so signups again will be available soon for that. Looking to the future, we're going to move the career day from the middle school to the fall and include the elementary school in that. So in that, the elementary school has actually postponed their career day this spring to align it in the fall with the middle school. So that'll give our fourth graders another opportunity to come to the main campus, which is something that they're excited about, but align those career days for elementary school, middle school in the fall, and then looking for the Career Club series for the middle school to potentially expand next year in the spring. So it'll be more sessions and or more opportunities for our kids to start exploring some of their interests in career fields. And now I'll kick it over to Craig.
Our subcommittee has been focused on student recognition and two main projects at the high school. The first one we spoke about last time was the standing on business, giving students an opportunity to recognize good work from each other. The one we focused on this past week was our second project, which is Knight Student Leadership Award, which would be an opportunity for students to submit a narrative for consideration, which would focus on that first bullet there, demonstrating exemplary leadership skills, which would be involvement in the school or an outside community activity, strong communication skills, working well with others, and a commitment to serving others. So they'd have this opportunity to submit a narrative, and if selected, they could present the portfolio to a committee. We talked about kind of logistics and being recognized, senior awards night, cords and all, discussion of
Yeah.
coloring of the cords would be very.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We have a student member on the committee, Joy Atwell, and when she reviewed this, so we've shared this document. She wasn't able to make the meeting, but she thought this was a great way to hit some of those students that aren't those traditional leadership roles, that are making an impact not only in our school community, but also outside our school community, whether it's through Boys and Girl Scouts, whether it's through their church, whether it's just in a community organization they're passionate about. This allows them to be recognized for their work. And the cord was, when I shared that, that was big happenings. Yes. As a matter of fact, she asked if she could pilot it for her graduation.
She liked the green and blue?
She sure did.
Okay, so sounds like we're making progress on that. And this is the other criteria that we were talking about, just working out the details on that, but we felt pretty good about this criteria for the submissions. That's a consideration for the significant award recognized student of the year. Oh, and the expectation that would be a junior or senior.
Well, and the idea would be you could, the reason we're giving them an opportunity to do it their junior year is because if you do it, check done, the cords will be there your senior year, but you can use it on college applications. If you apply and for some reason the committee doesn't actually think at that point you've met the criteria, you have another bite at the apple your senior year, and you can still, you can still do it for scholarships and you get the cords. So once a student has it, they don't have to reapply another year. They basically, I mean, they could if they want to, but I think one of the things that we really liked about this is there'll be a screening material, but then they come and actually present to a small committee. So there's an opportunity for them, again, back to those soft skills to talk about the impact and the reflection and really, demonstrating that they understand where that leadership is able to affect those that they're targeting. It's not a junior and a senior, it's you can apply your junior or senior and then anybody, so all four of you could apply and all four of you could get it. It is not limited. Yeah, sorry, that might not have been clear in here, but it's literally every person who meets the criteria could earn it, similar to NHS or probably the most comparable would be the Knights, the Silver Knight Award, which is if you hit 75 hours of cumulative service, you can get that. So all the seniors that get that will wear the cords that signify that. So this gives an opportunity for multiple kids who are doing some really cool things, either in the school community or outside community, to be recognized amongst their peers, because it's under that pillar of leadership.
So the goal would be to get both of those projects up and running in the fall.
All right. Great. Thank you to both of our committees for those updates. I believe that is all we have on the agenda. So we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 8:04. So thank you everyone for being here.